I have absolutely no choice but to open up this video by giving a massive shout out to the Berlin crowd. I feel like at this point it's tough being a European crowd after what Lyon, France did. The expectation is just so high ever since we watched that Backlash event. But Scotland came through and now Berlin came through. My favorite part about watching these events that are overseas and that basically anywhere where their native language isn't English, I love asking, we live stream these on YouTube and we do watch alongs. I love asking the chat, like, what are these chants, or what, you know, everybody's kind of translating what the different chants are. It's really cool seeing what areas have their own traditions and their own chants that they constantly do. I love it. So massive shout out to the Berlin crowd. If you were there, you were awesome. Talking about the event itself, overall, I did enjoy the event. Unfortunately, the more I think about the event, the more I realize with how little actually happened, and like historically in terms of things actually changing the course of a story or a title, this feels like it's going to be one of those events that I just enjoy watching in the moment, but I don't really think about a ton as time goes on. I know technically I'm saying it was forgettable, but that doesn't feel accurate to what I'm saying. It's just not one that I feel like I'm going to be looking back on or referencing very often. I enjoyed the show for what it was, and I think that's what it's going to be. We're going to talk about each match, but if you'd like to participate, something we do here, we're a pretty active community. If you want to go down to the comments and rank each match, your favorite to least favorite, you can put a reason if you like, but I'm very curious what ends up being everybody's favorite and least favorite match from this card. The show kicked off with Cody and Kevin, and there was a lot of issues when this first kicked off 3 weeks ago when Cody challenged Kevin. I saw a lot of people in my community and other places as well saying this match didn't make any sense, that there wasn't going to be any heat and there was going to be nothing there to actually, you know, sink your teeth into story-wise, because this just felt like two friends going at it for the title just for the sake of doing it. I was in the camp of waiting, letting it cook, and seeing what they did. And the week before we actually got to Berlin, exactly that happened. We actually did get a motivation that seemed like Kevin was going to be put potentially in a position to take advantage of a weak Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes saying that his knee is fine, but Kevin seeing that he's limping, not kneeling during his entrance, really setting us up as a fan base and as the crowd for exactly the moment we got. At one point in the match, Cody is like limping, his knee kind of gives out from under him, and Kevin has a moment where he's about to attack him and hit him from behind and attack the knee, but he stops himself. They made sure to get the perfect camera angle of that happening. I am 100% positive that that moment is going to be used as a storytelling device, and that's probably why this story isn't done. I saw a lot of people wanting Kevin to actually just turn immediately, and in my opinion, while that would have been kind of fun, I feel like Kevin's character has had some really good development since I've been watching. When Kevin and Sammy were a tag team, if you remember, Kevin was constantly flying off the handle. He was yelling at people. He was freaking out, something he doesn't really do like that anymore. Now it seems like when he does get angry, even though he is angry, he's keeping himself calm. He's being very mindful of his surroundings, very demure. But if you look back when I was watching him tag with Sammy, he was flying off the handle to the point where Sammy's calming him down. His character has developed over this pretty decent amount of time to be someone who is in more control of his emotion, and just having him completely flip on that character development just in a matter of 3 weeks just so we can get our heel turn that we want. I respect that his character is showing that he has changed, even though it might not be a permanent change. Instant gratification can be nice, but sometimes it's worth the wait. I think it's very clear we're going to get a Kevin turn, and I really don't think this story is going to be over. If I had to guess, Cody Rhodes is going to have a promo calling out Kevin. I'm sure they're going to play the replay or something, and he's going to say, why didn't you do it? Why'd you go easy on me? Why didn't you take the window you had? And maybe he pushes Kevin a little bit too far. Maybe other people in the locker room, maybe bloodline members, whoever, start making comments, or anybody who usually pisses off Kevin Owens starts making comments that Kevin is soft now, and maybe that gets to him. Maybe he can't keep it down anymore, and maybe that's when he finally snaps. My only other note from this match, I thought it was a pretty good match. I think the Crossroads is kind of getting killed. Like, Cody just kind of pulled the Crossroads almost out of nowhere at one point, and it was immediately kicked out. It's getting to the point where his new finisher isn't the Crossroads, it's the Crossroads like Trinity, where he hits the 3 in a row or something like that. I think if your finisher gets to a point where it needs to be landed 3 times to get the finish, I think that's a little tough, no? Maybe he's transitioning into like a new finisher, and this is kind of being made more of like a signature thing that he does, but it's not what puts it away. I don't know. It's a little bit strange. By the way, if you're seeing this on the day it's upload, that means we just started a new month on the Patreon, which means there are 3 new pieces of totally free content on the Patreon that were not there last month. So if you are one of our free tier members, head over there, check it out. I put 3 things up there. We put up like 50 to 60 pieces of content in August, and I'm not exaggerating. I was literally averaging like 2 posts per day. We were like pumping out content. So if you haven't already looked at the watch alongs and the stuff that we have going on over there, me and Tally have launched our podcast type show over on the Patreon. There's so much going on over there. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already. At least check out the free tier just to see if the rest might be for you. Anyway, after that was the women's tag match, and it was Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, the Unholy Union, which is Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Got it. I'm not huge on those two, so sometimes I get their names mixed up. I say I'm not huge on those two, but actually they kind of won me over a little bit in this match. I thought they looked really good. I did see some people in my community say that they thought this match was just following the same old formula, but I think that really ignores the second half of the entire match. Yes, they did the thing where Bianca starts off the match and Jade's waiting for a hot tag, and then she comes in and she looks super buff and takes a bunch of people out. But that's not where the match ended this time. This match kept going. It kept going to a point where Unholy Union had plenty of spots where they got to look really strong, and Jade was actually taking damage. She was taking some offense from Unholy Union. I really enjoyed this match because it felt like it was an earned spot for the women's tag title to be put on a PLE. And I went into this match kind of hoping that this was going to be an Unholy Union victory, and I was kind of hoping that maybe we get Bianca and Jade get that feud kicked off a little bit, but by about halfway through the match, I changed my mind. I feel like it might have even been like 75% of the way through the match. I was saying to everybody, I think I actually am really liking how Jade and Bianca look together right now. They were pulling off a lot of moves that were synchronized, stuff that made them feel more like a tag team and less like 2 singles competitors that were just thrown together. My only question is, what does this mean for Unholy Union? Because they did kind of come out of nowhere in terms of suddenly winning the titles. They didn't get a ton of buildup before they won it in Glasgow. And now that they just had it taken back, are they just going to go back in the shadows, or are we going to keep something going here? Maybe they're going to end up being a reason that Bianca and Jade end up splitting up. I'm very curious to see which way they go with it, but I really ended up liking this match, and I like that it didn't just fit the same formula that we've seen a lot from Bianca and Jade. This one really stuck out to me as one of the best matches, probably the best match I have seen from Bianca and Jade as a tag team. They got to come up with a name for their tag team, though. If you guys have any suggestions, put it in the comments. After that was the strap match, and I'll be totally honest here, I was skeptical on the idea of the strap match pretty early on. It really felt like this feud was a kind of a blood feud. This really felt like these two were at each other's throats, and whatever the stipulation was going to be, it needed to just equal more pain. Now, you could make the argument that adding a strap, a constant weapon, does do that, but there was something about the victory condition of just tapping the corners that made me feel like it was going to look weird seeing 2 people that want to kill each other almost running away from each other, trying to get to different corners. But to be fair, I also made that judgment before I really knew what to expect. I didn't expect the lights from any hockey fans out there. Definitely saw those lights and saw what I saw. It just looked like the lights behind hockey nets. I did not expect that the ring was going to look like that. It was actually kind of cool way to do it. But they actually came through with this one. They had a lot of moments where they got creative with the strap, pulling Drew into the chair that was propped in the corner. Obviously they were going to use it to whip each other. But then the fact that instead of trying to run away from Drew to tap the corners to get the victory, the fact that CM Punk waited until Drew was completely down, that was the difference for me. The fact that it wasn't really like a hold him back, quick hit the 4 and then run away. Oh, look, I won. CM Punk beat down Drew McIntyre by the end of that match, hitting his finisher multiple times. He took the bracelet back. So by the time he walked around and hit all of the lights to take the win, it felt like he had truly defeated Drew McIntyre, and that completely left any worry that I had about the stipulation completely out the window. Of course, I think we all knew CM Punk was going to win this one because it makes sense to tie the series and then potentially have them do the tiebreaker at Bad Blood. Hopefully they get a Hell in a Cell situation, something like that. I think that would be really cool. Let's talk about the Terror Twins. The entrance, it got me so hype. Judgment Day coming out, Liv and Dom, cool, fine, whatever. They look the same as they always do, but something about Damian and Rhea coming out looking badass. I like that Rhea came out second. I like that her song was the one that played throughout the rest of their entrance. I really don't love Damian's theme that much. in general, but seeing them come out together, Rhea was so well in character. I'm not gonna say Liv wasn't, but Liv's character didn't really have much to give in terms of telling a story in the entrances. She just kind of had like this, you know, laid back, like, oh, we'll be fine, I'm with Daddy Dom, whatever. But go back and watch that entrance and watch Rhea, her facial expressions, the eyes wide, she's singing along to her entrance, and I think her energy rubbed off on Damian because he was just feeling it. I'm going to spend a lot of time just talking about the entrance, apparently, because it set the mood. It reminded me who the Terror Twins are, and it got me really hyped for this match. Even though there was no stakes, there was nothing really at stake here. There wasn't anything on the line other than pride and momentum and just, you know, looking tough in the storyline. Now, sadly, as much as I wanted it, we did not get Dominic receiving a riptide from Rhea, but we did get a really cool callback, and I didn't even realize this until I saw it online afterward. If you look back, there's an early moment when Rhea hasn't fully taken Dom yet and brought him into the Judgment Day, where she does a very similar move that she did at Bash in Berlin, where she's up on the turnbuckle wrapping her legs around Dom. He's trying to get away. It should have been me. He's struggling. And it's almost a mirror image of when that happened years ago. So I like the subtle storytelling. We did get Judgment Day coming to interfere. I think everybody expected that. Finn Balor did get involved. And I think that really just got me looking forward to whenever we do split this back up a little bit. And when we do get Damian versus Finn, this was like a nice like anger preview. Like this was a nice, almost like a warm-up build. It was like first that we need to deal with this Dominic and Liv situation, and Damian was obviously happy to help. But we know this is going to split into more of the Rhea versus Liv and Finn versus Damian. And I'm telling you, Damian versus Finn, I feel like is going to be so good. It's going to be so heated that it could end up being my favorite feud by the end of 2024 if they do it right. And at this point, I've got no reason not to trust Triple H. I think he's going to do something really good with Finn and Damian. I hope it's another Bad Blood situation. I know we can't put all of our favorite feuds in Hell in a Cell, but I got like three. I got like three that I want to see go Hell in a Cell. I want to see Damian and Finn, Liv and Rhea, and Punk and Drew too. I don't know how many Hell in a Cell matches can you have in one night. Are there other matches like Hell in a Cell? Maybe a steel cage match, something we could mix in. I think Bad Blood is just going to be just cages coming up and down between matches. Also, did you see Rhea's pin on Liv? No reason. The main event, Randy Orton versus Gunther. Now, Gunther got a great reception from the crowd. Randy Orton got the 4K zoom in video game looking camera on the entrance, where his song looped like 4 times before it was over. All of this is great, but there's one thing that I want to make sure gets acknowledged, and it was just something that brought me a lot of joy, the same way it brought me joy when he had his moment on SmackDown. I'm so happy that Ludwig Kaiser got to have his moment in Germany announcing Gunther. He reached over, he interrupted Samantha, and this is probably the only person in the only situation I'm okay with anybody well, maybe Paul Heyman too, interrupting Samantha to introduce someone. The crowd loved it, and I was happy. I'm happy to see people succeed and have their moment in front of their home crowd. I know that had to mean a lot to him, especially having his moment the night before in SmackDown against LA Knight. It was just, I wanted to make sure that part got acknowledged. I'm very happy for Ludwig. Now, the match was a slow burn. It was a slow burn. They went for a while, but it kind of felt like it fit their two styles. Neither one of them are very quick at this point. Neither one of them are high flying. This was a battle of just who is going to break down the other more. And it showed with the type of attacks that Randy Orton was doing out of the ring. It showed with the type of attacks that Gunther was doing in the ring, and very similar to how he won the match. I mean, with a slugfest like that, it makes sense that it would be multiple attempts at a submission, putting him to sleep, not tapping, by the way, and to the point where Randy was getting out of the sleeper hold multiple times, and Gunther kept having to drive his elbow into Randy's neck to get him to finally go to sleep. If there's one thing that both of them did perfectly, it was selling for each other. Gunther had me completely convinced, even by the end of the match, that he had really messed up his arm. Who knows at this point if he actually did, but he was selling that like crazy. Randy was selling his back and his knee and everything like crazy. They really made it look like this was just two people beating the crap out of each other. And I'll admit, man, I was starting to be convinced. Just the way the flow of the match was going, I was really starting to think Randy was going to pull it out. I started doing all the math in my head, and I started thinking like, man, they keep saying like 15 times. They gave him the really cool 4K entrance. Triple H has been known to have people lose in like their home country. I know it's not actually Gunther's home country, but he was definitely like the popular one there. You know, he was speaking German and all that. Like, it wouldn't have been the first time is all I'm saying. And by the end of it, especially when he hit the second RKO out of nowhere, man, I really found myself rooting pretty hard for Randy there, but I couldn't even be upset by the end of it. It was just such a good, slow-paced match. I saw some complaints about the pace, but I kind of felt that too about maybe like halfway through, but as it kept going, the slowness of it actually felt like it just fit. It felt like it made sense. The more I looked at the situation, the more I looked at the types that they are, especially the size that Randy is now. He's not like 2000 something Randy, where he was a little bit skinnier and moving and grooving. No, this is big, bulky. This is the first time I think they actually said 290 on his weight, by the way. They kept saying an outdated number, and he was saying that they needed to up that, if you remember. They listed him at 290. So yeah, these guys weren't high flying, minus Gunther's splash. I am curious if you guys think that this is going to continue as a feud. But with them shaking hands, I think this means that this is settled, wouldn't you? I mean, how often do people shake hands at the end of a PLE title match and then keep going? So I think that's it for now. I do hope Randy gets another shot at some gold. I think it would be fun to see him defend some titles. So yeah, I really enjoyed the show as a whole. I just don't know if it's going to be one that 6 months from now I'm pointing back to and citing a moment. Unless something really comes from this Kevin Owens switch, then we would be pointing back to like the night where it started with the knee or something. But as much as I did love the show and it was an in-the-moment ride that was a very good time for me, I think it remains to be seen if it's one of those PLEs where we actually look back on 6 months to a year from now, remembering something. I'm very curious to know what your thoughts were on the matches, your favorite match, your least favorite match, any good decisions, bad decisions. Either way, please like the video. Thank you so much for watching it all the way through at this point. Thank you so much for the patrons that are flying up the screen. I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.